What do you think of this latest decision by her husband, the former president, to go on Al Sharpton's radio show earlier today to try to clarify his remarks about Barack Obama's campaign and a fairy tale? Let me play a little clip. Sure. Listen.
I stand by what I said, but the reports that I claimed his campaign or that he personally or that he in any way was disrespectful and said they were a fairy tale, that's just not true.
Well, it is a sensitive subject, isn't it? You know, most I talked with today say it is too soon to tell. Obama seems to have transcended race, but can he in the long run? Already critics say Obama's opponents are trying to create this subtle narrative of racial division. They deny it, but it illustrates how hard it is in this country to take race out of the equation. The Iowa caucus created all kinds of excitement surrounding Barack Obama. His win in a predominantly white state and a strong showing in another seemingly proves it. Obama can transcend race. It's something Obama has always believed could happen.
If I have your support, if I have your energy and involvement and commitment and ideas, then I am here to tell you, yes, we can in 08.
Maybe. But there are those who feel while Iowa and New Hampshire prove Obama can certainly get white votes, it doesn't mean he can continue the trend. That Obama's second-place finish in New Hampshire, despite polls that had him coming in first, illustrate the undercurrent about race that exists in this country. Andrew Kohut, in charge of Pew Research, has a theory. He says many of those inclined to vote for Hillary Clinton in New Hampshire were poor, uneducated whites who don't participate in polls and who often don't vote for blacks.
At least race should be considered, because we know that the kinds of people drawn to Mrs. Clinton are also the kinds of people who turn down surveys at pretty high rates. But we don't know much about whether the people who we don't get are like the people that we do get.
Polls about race are notoriously difficult to analyze. Take this ABC Washington Post poll conducted before the Iowa caucus. A whopping 88% of Americans said race would not matter in choosing a president. But pollsters say you have to take this result with a grain of salt. Few people are willing to tell a pollster they're racist. It reflects the Bradley effect after Tom Bradley, a black man who ran for governor in California in 1982. Most polls showed him leading, but he lost to a white male candidate.
Ask Tom Bradley when he ran for governor in California. Black man, thought he could win, he didn't. Ask Harvey Gantt in North Carolina. Ask Harold Ford Jr.
And look at the stats. There is one black governor in the United States. There are 9 women governors. There are 16 senators who are women, and 1 black man, Barack Obama. Still, Obama got plenty of votes in New Hampshire and in Iowa, which are both 95% white. And you could say that trumps the polls. But there are many more people yet to vote, and racial undercurrents that are so hard to predict.
In our CNN contributor and Democratic strategist, Donna Brazile. Let me ask you, Donna, what do you think? Did the former president resolve this matter? Did he, sort of clarify exactly what he meant?
President Clinton went on several nationally syndicated black radio stations today to clarify his remarks. Look, I take the president at his word that he was not being condescending, he was not being insulting, rather he was pointing out Senator Obama's previous statements on Iraq and where he perhaps might stand now. Look, Wolf, this is a very exciting moment for Democrats. It's a historic moment. If Dr. King were alive, he would be excited to see at least the Democratic Party offering an African-American man and a white woman as our 2 top choices for the presidency, not to take away anything from Senator John Edwards, who Dr. King would also applaud for raising the issue of poverty in this race. I think the president understands now that when you use those words, some people take offense, but we know Bill Clinton. We love Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton has soldiered in the fields for people of color. He shouldn't take out all his pain on Barack Obama. It's time that they regroup, figure out what Hillary needs to do to get her campaign back on track. It sounds like sour grapes coming from the former commander-in-chief, someone that many Democrats hold in high esteem. For him to go after Obama using fairy tale, calling him a kid as he did last week, is an insult. And I tell you, as an African-American, I find his words and his tone to be very depressing.
comment by New York Attorney General Andrew Cuomo. You have this whole flap over MLK and LBJ. Plus, you have the Congressman James Clyburn story that was in the New York Times today. And trust me, the Clinton campaign does not want to tick Clyburn off. And so that got their attention, him saying that he was bothered by these comments as well as some others, and very well might endorse it over Obama. That's really what this is about.
James Clyburn is the highest-ranking African-American in Congress. He's the majority whip in the House, the number 3 Democrat in the House of Representatives. Gloria, go ahead.
You know, this is all about Hillary Clinton winning. This is not about race. I mean, I was in Selma, Alabama this past spring when Bill Clinton came to be with Hillary Clinton because he didn't want her to be outshone by Barack Obama in that march in Selma. And, you know, Bill Clinton is a rock star in the African-American community, but he did have to take a little bit of a back step here because he understands that he may have gone a bit overboard, Wolf.
Jack, you want to talk about
it? It is about race, though. It is about race.
There's some suggesting, I mean, Clyburn, among others, including our own Donna Brazile, suggesting that they were a little concerned about what the former president had said earlier in the week with that so-called fairy tale remark.
Let me just throw this out there. Barack Obama has conducted his campaign without any reference whatsoever to race up to this point. He didn't react to the Clinton stuff. He's not talking about it being racial, but suddenly everybody else is. This is nonsense.
No. First and foremost, you've got a couple of Obama spokesmen who have raised some points as well. And sure, but when I say it's about race, it is about the competition.
I said Obama hadn't raised it.
No. Well, of course Obama's not going to raise it because that's why he has surrogates who also raise it. He has to walk a very fine line in this campaign because absolutely he doesn't. But because he has to play the dance, Jack, that African Americans who are operating in mainstream America have to play, and that is when you don't want to necessarily raise issues of race. It is a very delicate issue, and trust me, his campaign is very sensitive to it. But when I say it's about race, they're going to South Carolina, so you have this whole competition. This whole back and forth. And so when Clinton made this comment about MLK and LBJ, when she said that, well, it took a president to sign it into law, people took it as offense as her criticizing MLK. She said that wasn't the intention, but even Clyburn was she did back off it. Yeah. But even Clyburn was bothered by it, that whole inference. And so trust me, you have a little dance going on here on the competition, and the Clintons don't want to upset African Americans.
You said in 2004 you didn't know how you would have voted on the resolution. You said in 2004 there was no difference between you and George Bush on the war, and you took that speech you're now running on off your website in 2004, and there's no difference in your voting record and Hillary's ever since. Give me a break. This whole thing is the biggest fairy tale I've ever seen.
Today, Senator Obama used President John F. Kennedy and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. to criticize me. And, basically compared himself to 2 of our greatest heroes, saying, well, they gave great speeches. President Kennedy was in the Congress for 14 years. He was a war hero. He was a man of great accomplishments and readiness to be president.
Any disrespect for Barack Obama, but the former president says he's standing by his criticism of the way the Obama portrays his stance on Iraq. Let's go to Brian Todd. He's watching this story for us. The former president trying to clarify his remarks today in a series of radio interviews. What's the bottom line, Brian?
He's trying to clear his record, Wolf, trying to clarify everything. With the race so tight, the stakes so high between Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama, this back and forth between Bill Clinton and Obama's camp has big implications. The former president got right back in the middle of it just a short time ago.
First, the former president wants to make clear what's not a fairy tale about Barack Obama.
There's nothing fairy tale about his campaign. It's real strong, and he might win.
Bill Clinton's concerned he was taken out of context when he said this just before the New Hampshire primary about Obama's claim that Obama's always been against the Iraq War.
Well, how could you say that when you said in 2004 you didn't know how you would have voted on the resolution? You said in 2004 there was no difference between you and George Bush on the war, and you took that speech you're now running on off your website in 2004, and there's no difference in your voting record and Hillary's ever since. Give me a break. This whole thing is the biggest fairy tale I've ever seen.
That drew this reaction from the senator from Illinois.
As I said from the start that Iraq was a bad idea, that we should not have gone in. Bill Clinton was taking some liberties with my statements.
Obama did say in 2004 there wasn't much of a difference between his position and President Bush's on Iraq.
I stand by what I said, but the reports that I claimed his campaign or that he personally or that in any way was disrespectful and said they were a fairy tale, that's just not true.